You doing, Doc?
I am doing excellent. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on, Tom. Appreciate you getting on.
Hey, Katie, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. That's a beautiful picture of you. You're getting
thank
younger every time I see you.
Thank you.
What, no comment like that on me?
Well, it's like you're in a dark cave. You need more light. You look like a grizzly bear that's ready to pounce.
I'm all sunburnt. I went fishing the other day and boy, I got red.
Oh boy, that'll do it coming off the water or off snow. There's nothing like that.
Oh, it started out the morning. It was so foggy it was like pea soup. You couldn't see over the hood of the truck. And we got off, so we're going to get right down to business. And, everyone, thanks for being with us tonight. And Tom, thanks for taking time out of your busy life to be with us on a Friday night on your weekend. And you and I talked earlier today, really, and I'm gonna cover that and there, just talk about the fact that, just right off, we really can't answer any questions about.
Places stopped it. Okay.
Oh, you need to mute your call, whoever's talking. Okay. So, Dad, I'm busy here.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not bothering you.
All right. So, sorry about that. So, Tom, you and I talked earlier this afternoon. We really can't talk about diseases and anything like that because the TGA and the FDA just don't allow us to do that. That's making medical claims, correct?
Absolutely. But the beauty of DSHEA back in the early 90s was the fact that we had the ability to talk about good health through good nutrition. And the beauty of the digital era is now we have all the PubMed studies and we can see what happens if we don't have enough calcium in our diets. Well, obviously, there's a correlation with more osteoporosis. And we know through all the different studies at universities and clinics, and you've got a lot of big clinics up your area, and they do studies on everything from Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease and heart associations and weight loss. We know the power of nutrition. We know what happens when we have deficiencies. We know when we become older that our ability to metabolize and our ability to function as we did when we were 20 years old has diminished greatly. And so we live in an area in our nutritional supplement industry that we have strong scientific evidence that shows great power in an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. We let doctors worry about a pound of cure and let them cure symptoms. We're in the business, we're kind of like a Chinese doctor. They're paid to keep you healthy, not paid to cure you. And so that's what we do. We seek science. And I've spent, over 3 decades doing exactly that. Half the time, it's keeping people away from substances because we're generating thousands of new substances in skin, health, and nutrition and food every single year that our body doesn't know how to deal with. And just like everything, at one time they thought smoking was healthy. We find over time that guess what? Many of these things have a very detrimental effect on our health. Sisel is dedicated 100% to producing the latest science in nutrition, skincare, hair care to benefit us, to maximize our potential. We know, and my dad, boy, he said this a million times if you're ever on a call, our genetic potential is that we should live well past 120 years. Hopefully we don't get hit by a train. Or something happened to us. But if everything, our genetics, our environment, everything goes right, we should live much longer than we typically do. We should live well beyond our late 70s or early 80s in some countries. And so that's what we've dedicated our life to. We are the first going back years ago to talk about harmful ingredients. And we went through lots of lawsuits with a lot of the big boys out there in skin and hair care when we didn't want to use parabens. We didn't want to use sodium lauryl sulfate. We understood why cocamide DEA and secondary amines helped further cause cancer and things like this. And we just, because of the industry we live in, we elected not to use those things. Well, later we found out about the deficiencies in food and artificial sweeteners and colors, started eliminating those things. But then we found that there were great nutritional supplements out there in nature that many times they've been taken out of our diet, and we could replace those to restore good health. A lot of times just the foods we have now are hollow in vitamins and minerals. But yet there were, if you look at over half the pharmaceuticals come from plants. Well, we can ingest many of those plant sources and have increased health. So that's what we have dedicated Sisel to, maximizing our health. And it's not a job for me, it's what I love to do. And so to take a few minutes and be on the call is wonderful. You know, one thing you talked to me about, Doc, when we talked earlier, was my weight loss. And, you know, I've lost over 80 pounds over the last year and a half, 2 years. And really, it is about getting back to what I did when I was in my 20s and my 30s, and improving some of the things that had, I'll say, gone south on me, that being mostly gut health. And because, you know, a lot of the travel, a lot of processed food, a lot of things had changed. I'm, of course, not a young buck like I was back then. So things aren't as efficient. I thought I've got to restore that, and I need to start eating like I did back on the farm. When I grew up, we produced 90 some odd percent of everything we ate, all the different meats and fruits and vegetables. We canned, we had a root cellar, we ate very wholesome foods. And we also farmed in very pristine soil. We had 2 gardens, and that really triggered an interest in my dad's mind. Why are colors brighter? Why are tastes better? Because of the trace minerals and the nutrients found in that virgin soil. And then that obviously started a whole reasoning that he wanted to know what had happened with over farming, especially in Asia and Europe, where those countries can be thousands of years old and farmed on the same soil. Well, luckily we find that through the government here in America, they've been collecting study for over 100 years on the decline of minerals in lettuce and tomatoes and spinach, and we find that most vitamins and minerals are down about 70 to 80%. So in my weight loss, I thought, you know what? It's not so much that I need a miracle. I've got to restore where I was at. And so through the new gut health products, you know, I was the #1 guinea pig, probiotics and enzymes and prebiotics, and then coupling that with new weight loss products that show that we can help process sugar through our system without converting it to fat, glucominous, trimogenic. With using those products, I saw, I mean, this wasn't something that just happened in 30 days. We all wish that was the case. But over the last year and a half to 2 years, I've lost about 80 pounds. I feel great. I never thought I'd be in a 34 waist pant again in a large shirt, you know. Doc Fizz used to steal all the double XLs at Mower Mountain. Well, now I let him have them. I don't need them anymore. I'm back in a large. So anyway, lots of great things out there in science, and we're dedicated every single day to discovering those. And so I really took back my health, and that's what the message at Sisel is that you can restore your great health, at least to a very high degree. We can't obviously do a lot with genetic, but that's about half of what occurs. But we can help people in so many areas. We have a very diverse line. And so that was kind of my weight loss journey. But then I also had to change my diet. And in fact, I eat 4 hard-boiled eggs every morning, and I eat pretty much just protein at lunch. And then at night, I'll have a salad, and I'll have, you know, like I did back on the farm. I'll have some meat, I'll have some vegetables, I'll have some salad. It doesn't mean I don't ever eat ice cream or cake anymore, but I eat it conservatively and not regularly. And bread, I'll eat bread, but I don't eat it like I used to. And so getting my diet back in order and then restoring my gut health, a simple thing that people don't realize is there's so many artificial sweeteners out there. If you work in an office environment, people are always bringing things in. And if you travel on airplanes, you're exposed to a lot of it. Half of, you have like aspartame in a Diet Coke or anything like that. It kills half of the microflora off in your gut. The upside is it's kind of like rabbits. It duplicates pretty quick, but until it does, you're not restored back to what you need in the natural microbes in your gut to help you process. But even more importantly is your immune system starts in your gut. Immune system's down, guess what happens? Inflammation goes up. Inflammation goes up. There's so much involved with that. Arthritis, disease, sickness. Inflammation is one of the greatest causes of aging. And so everything I look at, I look for a very systemic effect. What happens to that? How does it affect not just our gut, but our joints, our overall health, anti-aging? There's so much more. And so if you're new to the call, don't get so wrapped up into what we call analysis paralysis, but understand the fact that we are dedicated to finding the very latest studies to improve your health. And we're our own guinea pigs. These are products we make for our family and for our friends. That's how it all started. We were making these products for ourselves. People wanted to be part of it because they saw the results that we have. Doc, what else did we talk about?
You covered a lot of things right there in that first 10 minutes or so. Real quickly, a lot of people are questioning, why do we use some synthetic vitamins and minerals, and why do we use some natural? If you could just quickly cover that.
Good point. And that's a good thing to hit on. Mother Nature does a wonderful job at making things. Natural vitamins, minerals, fruits high in antioxidants, also makes rattlesnakes, cyanide, skunks, a lot of things. It's kind of a 50-50. So I'm looking for the most effective ingredients that I can find. Sometimes that's natural, sometimes it's synthetic. Then on top of that, to go to different countries, many times, like vitamin B9, vitamin B12, I cannot get the natural form of that into Japan. They'll only allow the synthetic. And a lot of times, like B6, obviously, there's a big question about that. Right now, maybe I'll address that one. B6 is definitely easier to be more precise on your dose with synthetic than it is natural. And definitely the cost is a little bit less also. But right now, there's a lot out there right now with people getting too much B6. And they say really it's that 200 to 500 milligrams a day. So we're getting a lot of questions about that. Now, I'll tell you what, if you took every single product that we have B6 in, you would get about, I think it's about 69.83 milligrams a day. So you're well under that threshold of where the concern is. I think even the upper limit in Japan, and remember, upper limits are like RDI, the bare minimum to maintain health. I mean, they talk about vitamin C. It's a very low amount of RDI. It's the amount that you won't have scurvy, your skin won't go thin. It's not about not mega doses, but much larger doses give you more benefits in stamina and endurance in vitamin C. And so in some areas, our highest product we have is Stemolytic that has 25 milligrams of vitamin B6. So if you took that one product out, you're only going to get, if you took every other product we have, around 40 some odd milligrams a day, well under what they're saying the mega doses of 200 to 500. even some are saying maybe even 100 could be a high dose of that. So we're well under the limit with every product. Siseline, I think, has 0.7 milligrams, and I think Encompass has 11.3 milligrams. And so there's not mega doses in there. Back to synthetic versus natural. Vitamin B6, I'm really kind of up in the air. I don't see any side effects with synthetic versus natural, or any benefits of natural over synthetic. It's easier to get approved in countries typically. It's definitely easier to be more precise on dosing. I'm really kind of up in the air on that whole factor. Some things I definitely have changed over time. I mean, there was a time we actually used parabens back with our former company, and once I found that parabens were estrogen mimics, we were about the first to eliminate all of that in that area, and we've done that over time as we find better science. And so we're looking into B6, in B9 and B12. At one point, we still use that, the synthetic version in Japan, because it's the only one that we can get in country. But in America, Australia, other markets, we use the natural form. And why do we use the natural form? We know that there's a small percentage of people genetically that cannot assimilate folic acid. But the natural form of methyl tetrahydrofolate, or the natural form of B12, they can assimilate. And so there was a reason to go to that natural form of that. So, a lot of companies, when they say we only use all natural, that's not always the most beneficial. Sometimes it's not as stable. Sometimes you can't dose it as accurately. Sometimes you can't get it approved in the country. And sometimes it's so cost prohibitive that it's not worth it. Another one, synthetic versus natural, vitamin C. You would have to eat about 20 oranges a day to get the amount of vitamin C that I have in Compass in a natural form. And ascorbic acid and vitamin C from an orange, they're identical in how they work, how your body processes them. There is no reason to have that natural form, because I can't get the large doses I want people to have in the natural form. It's just not, you're not able to do it. And plus, if you did, it would be extremely, extremely pricey to do that. I use natural when it is the best. I use natural when it's cost effective and it can get approved. And so we're looking at that for everyone. Number one is we want the very best product. Number two, we want it at a good price. And of course, we've got to accommodate getting those things into countries. And so one thing we find a lot of times too with things that are natural, a lot of times, especially with heavy metals, many times they're contaminated with things. I mean, like flaxseed oil, you really got to be careful. It can have a high cyanide content. And the number one source of calcium that a lot of people use is the cheapest form, natural calcium carbonate, but it has a propensity to pick up a lot of lead. And number one, is the least bioavailable. Milk calcium, like we have in K2, calcium hydroxyapatite, which mirrors teeth and bones, is the most bioavailable form. We use that. It's natural also. And so there's so many things that can happen in Mother Nature that always are not the best. We always think Mother Nature knows best. Well, I like a rainstorm, but I'm not big on hurricanes and typhoons. And so Mother Nature is kind of a 50-50, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about calcium, and I'm just going to say some stuff that I learned 30 years ago on calcium. At that time, they were saying 98% of the nutrition companies in the United States they knew that they had lead in their calcium product, and yet the FDA allowed them to use it because they just said, look, it's going to cost too much to get everybody to switch it out. And so the FDA just said, we're going to grandfather you in to keep using it, even though they knew that. And so I appreciate the fact that you guys have the hydroxyapatite form of calcium.
Yeah, it's the best way to go, and you're right. And that happened with skincare, years ago. They just grandfathered in so many of the different surfactants and preservatives and things out there. They said, people aren't brushing their teeth and dyeing or shampooing their hair. But when we got involved, we realized that dioxanes and nitrosamines, acrylamides, and all these different things were there in small amounts, but yet our bodies are like sponges, and over time they accumulate. And when they accumulate and then we get older and our health starts to wane, there can be we see as people get older, there's a rise in cancer rates and mortality and so many different symptoms. And a lot of times it's because of a lifetime of using things that have small amounts of harmful ingredients. We're on a mission to eliminate all those, but we're on a mission also to build and help people create a business. Or maybe a lot of people just join, they want certain products. Some people join, they want to pay for those products. Some people join and they want to create a business. And so I'm kind of running out of time, but I need to go here in just a second. But I want to say we have accommodated with the compensation plan. I mean, it has 8 different payout centers, and it pays more in compensation than anyone in the industry. We analyze all of these where we go, and to make sure that we're not only competitive, but rewarding people the highest we can. How's that possible? How can you make the best products? How can you also pay the most commission? It's because we do the research. It's because we control it from the concept to the person using the product. We manufacture, we do the quality. I mean, my research is virtually free because I don't charge from that. I'm not out buying people's studies and buying their products. And then we make the products. That saves you about 20-25%. I can put that extra money into compensation and into products that benefit the people who are out spreading this good word about nutrition and longevity and anti-aging.
You bet. Well, Tom, I know you got to get going. I'm going to throw over to Katie real quick. I know she probably had a question or two, or maybe you answered them already. But Katie, if you want to jump on.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Kurt. Yeah, Tom, just to finish off, we were just wondering like what your vision is for the future, if you can share that with everyone on the call.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming, we've got quite a few people on here from Australia. So we're doing quite a few things to move fast and furious over there. We've hired a couple of people. We're looking at more staff. We're looking at 3PLs to get products in there within days and have product in country or in New Zealand can be delivered quickly. But also, and I'm sure there's some people here that know about our former company, New Ways, changed the name to Modere. There's some dynamic products that we had there right now. In fact, there's people in Australia, one product I think some people will remember, a product named Endow that we brought out years ago, Chase berry extract, diascorea, wild yam for women hormone balance. And I have that out in the field here in the US, Canada, and some people in Australia. I'll tell you one thing, 100% of them are saying it works better than your old formula Endow, Tom. And so I'm going to be doing more in hormone balance, not just for women, not just for men, but also for Doc Fizz, because I think he's kind of in between the two. But we're working a lot on testosterone products, having great results. In fact, we have people here at work that are having blood drawn that are seeing 150 to 200 points testosterone growth over the last 3 or 4 months with the formulation I put together. Working on an extremely complex prostate health formulation for men. There's probably over 30 to 40 products right now in R&D that we're working on, liver cleanses, a lot of new technology out there. Right now, we have the #1 product in restoring, maintaining muscle with Sisel Rip. Millions of dollars in science with this exact formula we've been able to license from the doctors and the organizations who've done that. But there's so much more. Australia, we're going to be there in country. We're going to be paying high commissions for the world's best products to help people take back their great health and do everything we can to make sure they get those products timely, efficiently, and at the lowest price possible. So there's a lot in store coming up. In fact, many of you know Andy Kirsch, I hired him years ago as a sales manager, and then he ran the company for us. He's a consultant. He's setting up a lot of things. We're working on product registrations and banking and so much more over there right now, looking at 3PLs to house products and everything. And so Australia is right at the very front of where we go next. I've had 3 or 4 countries lined up for a couple of years. Everything's on hold except for Australia. That's the focus. And maybe it goes back to, we sure had a lot of fun, Dad and I, over the years in New Zealand and Australia. If we, Dad bought a big property down in New Zealand because he wanted to spend half the year down there, down in New Zealand and Australia. And so I guess there's kind of a special place in our heart down there, down under. And so, yeah, a lot of great things are happening that you're going to see here shortly.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tom.
You bet. Well, I better get going. I'm supposed to be somewhere else in actually 1 minute, but been great to be on the call. Thank you, everybody, for all your great efforts and helping each other. And we have dynamic leaders, Katie, Doc, and so many more. They have your interest in mind, just like I do. And we've got a lot of, the future has never looked brighter. And great science, we're staying on top of that, and more opportunity comes with Sisel. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for being there, Katie.
Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for being on the call. Have a great night.